Hi, this is Sean Bradley, coming to you guys through Her Purpure podcast. I hope you guys enjoy everything that we talk about here.
It says here we should work in teams. I tend to think of myself as a one-man wolf pack.
You're about to enter information overload, a worldwide transmission with Her Purpure's featured Breeder of the Week. Here's your host, Jason Rossi.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening on this episode of Her Purpure. I'm your guest host, Sean Bradley, and I'm filling in for Jason Rossi. This is the first episode of 2013, and anybody can listen in on this podcast for free on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or RossiReptiles.com. This is going to be part one of a three-part series. In this first part, I'll be interviewing the person that I think I influenced the most in this business, and that's Tim Bailey of Bailey & Bailey Reptiles. The second part, I'll be interviewing the person who influenced me the most, and that's Brian Barshak of BHB Enterprises. And finally, for the third part, I'll be collecting various questions from you guys, the listeners, about the business, such as business practices, maybe safe shipping methods, anything that you really want to know about what it takes to be a successful reptile keeper, breeder, business person, and make this hobby everything that you want to make it. So if you can, as you listen to this and the next podcast from us, think of questions you'd like me to answer, and if you want to email me, it's Sean, S-E-A-N, at exoticsbynature.com, or you can catch up with me on Facebook. I'm just on there under my name. It's Sean Bradley, and again, that's S-E-A-N, and you can check me out on Facebook, message them to me there, and we'll get them answered as best we can. So I guess without further ado, I'd like to welcome Tim to Her Purpure. Welcome, Tim.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, it's great to have you on the show, Tim. I know this is probably, I think, your first time doing a Her Purpure podcast,
yeah.
And it reaches out to a lot of people. And to all those people out there, I'd really like to start by saying that Tim began building his ball python collection back in 2003, and I'm really proud to say that his collection's grown, come really close to the size of our stuff over here at Exotics by Nature. And I guess let me ask you this, Tim, since I'm sure a lot of people would like to know, what got you interested in ball python mutations back in the day?
Well, growing up as a kid, I always had a bunch of snakes, lizards, iguanas, all kind of stuff when I was a kid. But I'd gotten out of it for quite a while. I actually had Mexican black king snake that I had for about 5 or 6 years maybe. And I went to boot camp in the Marine Corps back in 95, and when I went, I got rid of that last snake. So I was a reptilist from 95 until 2002, actually. And in 2002, my daughter caught a little water turtle, a red ear slider. I got a big bass pond in my front yard, and she caught that little turtle, and we put it in a tank, and we never could get it to eat really well, so it lasted about 2 or 3 months and died. Excuse me. And when that happened, she decided she wanted a snake, and Monica, my wife, had seen on the way home a sign for Exotic Reptiles, which was actually Sean's shop, was on our normal travel coming home. So we went over there to look for a snake, and Shelby dug around a little bit. I guess back in 2002, Shelby would have been 4 years old. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Shelby would have been 4, maybe 5 years old when we started looking. And she decided she didn't want a snake, but Sean had a bunch of bearded dragons there, so we ended up getting, actually we didn't get a baby. I think Sean had a sub-adult male bearded dragon that we got set up at home, and he did great, and Shelby liked him a good bit. But, as you know, anyone that's got beardies, you got to feed it crickets. So once a week I was in Sean's shop buying crickets for the for the Bearded Dragon, and I guess around that time, '02, Sean was getting heavy into the ball pythons, and so you had quite a bit of stuff back then. I remember the Spider and the Pied and Hypo.
Yeah, we were spending a lot of money right then.
Yeah, G-stripes and all that stuff. So there's piquing my interest again back in snakes, looking at all that stuff, and realizing that there was some really cool stuff. And as when I was doing it as a kid, I was never really part of a group of people that did it. So it was just kind of, I got a snake on my own, did it, and I didn't even, back then, I didn't even think about breeding. I just wanted to keep cool snakes and cool lizards and stuff as pets. So when I figured out you could breed them, I thought that'd be interesting. So yeah, I just started digging. Of course, back in '02, anyone that was around back then, there wasn't anywhere near as much stuff on the internet as there is now. Pretty much you'd go to Ralph Davis's site, because Ralph had a message board on there, and you could go to King Snake and Fauna, and that was about it. So I'd just run around, free time at work, free time at home, dig, research, study, learn whatever I could, and there was always, I don't know, probably 5, 6, 7, or 8 people or so that were kind of really the close-knit group there at Sean's shop, and there was always probably 1 or 2 of those guys running around in there. So I was always in the shop once a week getting crickets, and just started asking Sean questions, and Scott and Robin and any of the guys that were in the shop and were regulars over there, and just after talking and looking and researching, and I figured it was something we wanted to do. So that's when the leap started. Of course, we'd had the Bearded Dragon probably for maybe 6, 9 months or so before we decided to start with the ball python stuff. Of course, plenty of questions prior to that as well, but that's kind of how we evolved into that. I guess it was looking at Sean's collection and what he was doing there that got me back into it.
Well, it's kind of funny. I think you're being a little modest there. You came in the shop one day to get crickets, and we were talking about ball python morphs, and then you came in the shop maybe a week or 2 later, and it seemed like you knew everything. You must have got on the internet, and like you said, and did that research, and really kind of caught the fever. I think that most people have caught with reptiles, not only just ball pythons, but it's so easy. And if you think about it, then we're only talking about 10, 15 mutations, not 100, 120, or some god-awful amount of different mutations that you can really get into, now. But I guess, thanks for sharing that with us. It's a great story that you and I remember fondly. I know we talk about it sometimes, and I guess we all get started in our own way, but I was happy to be able to influence you so early on, and get you interested, so much. So I guess it's really taken you ahead, in the business and in your hobby. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with us maybe, how many animals are you working with? What's your collection size in the way of maybe adult breeders, and if you don't mind sharing maybe, clutch amounts, and how many babies you hatch every year and things like that.
Yeah, well, I'll back up just a hair. Back to the previous question. So in '03, when we started building, I went in. I bought at that time. Sean was still importing, captive hatch animals every year. So I went in. I bought a captive hatch female, which of course, there again, more direction from Sean. Hey, if you're going to get something, get a female. So we got one, and I guess it wasn't too much long after that. We had a local show in Slidell, and Sean was over at the show, and of course, being that I was freshly into it, decided to go to the show and talk to wife into letting me get another one. So I picked up another female from Sean at the show, which was actually in '02. It was a year-old female that he had left from '02 captive hatch stuff, and got that girl. And then we found out we were getting deployed. I was getting deployed to Afghanistan shortly thereafter. So Monica said, hey, we got to grow females up. Hey, why don't you get one more? So before I went to Afghanistan at the end of '03, I ended up picking up another female from Sean. So I started out with 3 normal females, and went to Afghanistan, and of course, was making really good money over there. So I came back in '04 to a big pile of money, and went to Sean's and bought